Mr. Dave, and as you may see here, I am very lucky to have my wonderful assistant, Haley, my daughter, also known as Science Haley. Haley, you've been doing science with me for how long? Since?
I think like 10 years now.
Yeah, like the majority of her life. Yeah, she is the reason that I got into doing science, as far as teaching science and all those kind of things. So she's been my my partner for a long, long time. This is, yes, Science Haley. I'll just probably call her Haley. When we were teaching in front of students, we would say, this is Science Haley. Every time I would say Science Haley, they would say, bing, bing. Yeah, so it was just a thing. You can do that at home if you want. Yep. Whenever I say Haley, you can say, bing, bing. Yeah, but that's completely up to you. But this, as I said, I'm Mr. Dave, and this is the RayKitty Science Project. And we are part of RayKitty Creation Workshop. And we've got some fun science here today. This is some spooky science. We've got, it is spooky season. Now, around our house, it's kind of always spooky season, but right now is especially spooky season.
Heightened spook.
Heightened spook, yeah. We have more spook than normal this season. So we've got some fun stuff here. There are some things that you can do at home. I would say that some of these are a little bit higher level, but they're all things you can do at home. These are things we do. How often do you think we do the bubbles?
At least every Halloween.
At least every Halloween, right? And so we do these things pretty often. They are pretty safe. The materials we will be using today are going to be dry ice, okay? Now, dry ice is something that you will want to be careful with. Make sure you always have an adult. Now, Haley is officially an adult now.
Yes.
But she has been trained with dry ice. She's worked with dry ice for a long time, so you'll see her also manipulating that. But dry ice is something that you can pick up at the grocery store. It's not very expensive. There's a lot of fun science you can do with that. So we have dry ice is one of them. The other is this yellow paper over here, and that is called Goldenrod paper, okay? And so we will be using Goldenrod paper. And the Goldenrod paper is something that you will probably have to order online, but again, it's very inexpensive. You can go to that big Smile retailer and you can get Goldenrod paper. That's a fun one if you're gonna have like a Halloween get together or some kind of spooky season party that you're gonna do, because there's some fun things that we'll be doing with that one.
You'll see why in a minute.
And you will see why in a minute, yeah, because that one gets pretty fun. So we're the other thing we're gonna have is this zombie juice, right? And we'll tell you a little bit about the zombie juice in a little bit here. Yeah, it is official because it says zombie juice handwritten in pen. So you can tell that that's really 100% zombie juice right there. Okay, so that water, we have some gloves for working with our dry ice today. We also have a little bit of bubble juice. Okay, this is regular old bubble solution that you can buy wherever. I a lot of times will make my own, but this time I just brought this bubble solution here. We will do some episodes on bubbles later. Okay, so all of that said, we should probably do some science.
Let's go.
What do you think? Want to do some science? Okay, so I have a kettle here that has warmed my water. I did that here because at the studio it's easier to warm it here. When you're at home, you don't have to use hot water for any of this. You can just use warm water out of the tap, okay? So we're gonna start with dry ice. So this is dry ice here, right, Haley? And what is dry ice? Do you remember after all of these years? Dry ice is...
Solidified carbon. It's very low level. It's very low. It's the same as you'd see like in the air and all that sort of stuff. It's just carbon. And
carbon dioxide. Yes.
So when you see this gas coming off of it, it has the same thing that you might get in like a Coke when it's the carbonated beverage. It's this stuff right here.
Yeah. So this dry ice is solidified carbon dioxide. Yeah. So you may see, you'll see that she's putting some gloves on there to handle it. You will see me at times handling it with gloves, sometimes without. Okay. Now, we have been trained with working with this. We have worked with this for a long time. I do want to say, if you're doing this at home, just a safety thing, if you haven't worked with this before, make sure you're always wearing gloves. Okay. Just because it is way below zero. And so because it's so cold, it can actually hurt you, okay? So you don't want to be in contact with this, and we don't want to see you get hurt. Make sure you've got an adult to handle this. Make sure that the adult has some gloves, okay? So with this dry ice here, we're going to do some pretty basic stuff first. Now, we have some very just bland cotton gloves, okay? We're going to be using those for handling the dry ice. A very, very important thing, okay? If you are handling the dry ice, we're doing it with the cotton gloves because we have worked with it before. Be very, very careful to make sure if you're using any kind of glove that isn't waterproof, that those gloves are dry, okay? And that's a very important kind of safety thing about this dry ice. If you have wet gloves, if you've ever seen A Christmas Story, right, yeah, the tongue to the pole thing, yeah, you don't want that to happen with your fingers.
You will get freezer burnt, the same thing as when you leave your ice cream in there too long.
Yeah, you know the ice cream, how it goes bad, you don't want your fingers to
go bad.
Go bad. Yeah. So, no, but be very careful when you're dealing with the dry ice and make sure you've got an adult. Okay? So, that being said, we're going to do a little bit with this dry ice. And Haley, I will have, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and use this one for now, and then we can swap it out in a little bit. I'm going to put some water into this beaker here. Now, as I've said before, when you're dealing with temperature, okay, this is Pyrex. Okay, if you're doing this at home with water and with dry ice, do not put it into a regular glass. What'll happen to the glass?
Rapid temperature change will make it shatter.
Yes.
So,
so you do not want that. So Pyrex, it means like your cooking glass, okay? So you can use Pyrex or whatever those types that you can say, you know, cook in the microwave and those kind of things, use that kind of glass, okay? So I've got some water in here. I've got some warm water in here. And then what Haley's going to do is she is just going to put some of that dry ice into that water, okay? Now, we have a huge temperature difference here, okay? So with this temperature difference, you can probably hear it, okay? You can definitely see it, okay? Now, this vapor here is very, very dangerous, right? It will kill you?
Oh, yes.
No, it will not kill you. Yeah. No, no. This vapor here is safe to breathe in small amounts, okay? So if I were to take it and Haley was to just blow it at me, there you go, I'll probably be okay. No, I will be okay. This vapor is mostly water with a little bit extra of that carbon dioxide in there, okay? Now, I say vapor, right, instead of saying steam, okay? That's very important. Why is this vapor instead of steam?
Because it's going down.
Right. Which way does steam go? Steam goes
up.
Up, right? Just like we have those beautiful hot air balloons, the heat will cause it to rise. Now, this vapor is heavier than air because it does have a higher carbon dioxide kind of component to it, but mainly because it's cold. So you can see we have that cool, like, floating all over the table and giving us that nice effect there. So this can be something that's fun to do at your, your spooky parties and things like that. We have pretty much just always got this going. A fun way to do it is a crock pot. Yeah, we get a crock pot. The crock pot will keep the water warm. You put some new dry ice in there every once in a while. This will bubble for a long time. So our downstairs usually looks about like this, okay? So this fun little vapor that you see here, yeah, that is fun. We've never done it on
the tablecloth is nice
before, yeah. So this vapor here is very safe. If you want, you can put the dry ice into a punch bowl that you're drinking out of. Make sure none of that gets transferred into your drinks. But your punch will also do that fun little vapor thing. So there's a lot of fun just in the vapor of the dry ice, okay? So in making that vapor there, you can see now that it's slowed down a little bit, you can see that bubbling in there, okay? Now when it's bubbling in there, what is happening there is dry ice is a little bit different, right? And what is different about dry ice than liquid ice?
Well, it's already so much colder than water, and so especially with this heat there, it's basically boiling. While the water itself isn't much hotter than you would drink like tea or something like that, this ice, since it's so far below zero, has that rapid temperature change occurring, which makes it boil the same way it would if you had hot water.
Yeah, so we get that nice, that bubbling, that boiling there, okay? Now, also a thing about dry ice is that, surprisingly enough, it has no normal liquid form, okay? So there is no normal liquid state for the dry ice. Now, I say normal. Can you turn carbon dioxide into liquid? Yes, but it's not very common, okay? So the dry ice will go directly from a solid to a gas, okay? So your liquid water, like we've worked with before, will go from solid to a liquid to a gas, but this, right to a gas, okay? So that's another fun thing that you can do. If you're doing this at home, with that dry ice in the water there, I'm going to put a little bit more in there. It will go on for a long time, but one of my kind of tips and tricks is keeping the water warm, okay? It's not a matter of putting more dry ice in there. That dry ice will last a good long while, but keeping that water warm long enough is the tricky part. So if you want to have this little spookiness at your party, like I said, we use a crock pot, and you kind of decorate the crock pot up a little bit so it doesn't look like a crock pot. You got to make it look like a cauldron or something like that. But if you've got this going, just warm up that water now and then, and this will be a fun kind of addition to the party on its own, okay, before we even go crazy with it. Now, another little spooky thing, I'm going to keep this going right over here because,
Might as well.
That's fun, right? So another spooky little thing you can do with the dry ice is I have a quarter here. Thank you to the wonderful people here at Studio 519, because I forgot to bring a quarter, that were able to round up a quarter for me. Thank you, guys. So I've got this quarter here. Now, with this dry ice, another fun thing that can happen is this quarter, I'm going to take the glove off for this part because I will be warming the warming the quarter between my hands. Okay, so I'm rubbing my sweaty, grubby little hands together and I'm warming that quarter up. Okay, so when we get this quarter nice and warm, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press it into the dry ice. Okay, so we're just going to listen as I press it into the dry ice. There we go. Ready, and now, I don't know if you can hear that squeal, that screaming sound, but that screaming sound, what's happening is, remember, dry ice has no
Liquid state.
liquid state. So, because it has no liquid state, it is sublimating, okay? So sublimate is to go straight from a solid to a gas. And so when it does, then it is vibrating this quarter very, very quickly. We'll see if we can get it to bounce here. Sometimes you can get that quarter to dance a little bit.
It does make a funny noise.
We can hear it, yeah. Oh, yeah, we can hear it, but that quarter is letting a little bit of air out, a little bit of air out, a little bit of air out. So that's a fun one that you can do with a quarter. If you have a bigger coin, you can use a bigger coin. Smaller coins, not as much, but the bigger coins we can use. So that's another fun one. You can do that little like ghostly wail with putting your quarters into your dry ice. If you've got a bunch of them, you put a bunch of them in there, and then they dance around like gravestones in the storm. Yeah, so that's kind of wow.
That was a good one.
Gravestones in the storm. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a new song. Anyway, so those are a couple fun things that we can do. But we want to get to kind of the big one that we're going to do, and that is with our little contraption here, okay? Now, another safety note. This is a very huge, very important safety note, okay? Never put dry ice into a sealed container, okay? Where do you never put dry ice?
Into a sealed container.
Into a sealed container, okay? So this here, we will be putting a lid on it, okay? But we do have this vent, okay? So it is super important you do not put dry ice into a sealed container, because as we can see with this vapor here, we have expansion, okay? So if you have expansion, it can be very dangerous in a sealed container. So if you have the dry ice, don't put it into your refrigerator, okay? Don't put it into your freezer, nothing like that. Keep it in a cooler that can let some air out, okay? So that's a super, super, super huge safety precaution with the dry ice, okay? While I'm filling this up, another fun thing is that it attracts mosquitoes. So bad.
So bad.
So bad. If you leave this in your car, while I'm filling this up, we'll talk about it. If you want to just hold this up for me. If you leave this dry ice in your car for a while, it will sublimate, which means it will turn into a gas, okay? And that gas is carbon dioxide. What is it that mosquitoes are actually attracted to?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. So then you open the back of your car, you walk away to go get some stuff, you get back to your car,
Full of mosquitoes.
You've got like an Amityville thing going on in there. There are mosquitoes everywhere. Yeah, so don't do that, okay? So we've got some water in our bucket here, and what we're going to do is we're going to put some of that dry ice in there, okay? So we've created that vapor. Remember, we have not sealed it.
There's still a tube.
Yeah, we've got a tube. We're going to put a lid on, but it's not sealed. We have this tube here. Now, what's fun about that is that we can
then shoot you with carbon dioxide.
Vapor, that carbon, ooh, that is nice and cool. Yeah, so it's safe to play with that alone as it is. But what we're going to do is we're going to take it kind of to the next level here with our bubble juice, okay? And we're going to make bubbles. Now, another reason for the cotton gloves is for this next part of the demonstration here, okay? When you're doing this one, when you make those bubbles, they are going to be heavier than air, okay? And the cotton will keep the glove. I can put them on your hand, that way you get to play with them.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And the cotton will actually keep the bubbles or slow down the popping of the bubbles. So we're going to start by making some bubbles here. There you go. And these bubbles, one, are heavier than air, right?
So they fall.
And the reason the gloves help is because when you see them hit my hand here, the oils on our hand are actually what normally pop those bubbles. But with these ones here, we'll see if we can make a really, really big one. When she's got those gloves on, when she's got those gloves, it protects the bubble, right? So this part, you're not really protecting your hand, you're protecting the bubble. So we're going to try and make a big bubble in her hands there.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll go for some small ones. Oh, your
my
gloves
hands are
might be a
getting too
little wet.
wet.
Let's see if we can just drop some on the table here.
I'll switch my gloves real quick.
So these bubbles here are filled with that vapor. Okay, you can see that they're nice, thick bubbles. The bubble itself is just your normal bubble that we have from our bubble juice, but because it has that carbon dioxide in it, it's a little bit heavier. And because that vapor is cold, it's a little bit heavier. And if you can protect it, there you go, then you can actually hold those bubbles. Let's see if we can go a little slower. I'm going to use this as a vent, and I'm going to slow down my bubble production here. Oh, not quite that moment.
Got just a little bit of a drip,
There
and
you
I think
go.
that's, there we go.
All right.
Cool. We can do it. There we go.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, you can see you can hold those bubbles. So if you've got, kids coming over, whatever, this is a very safe one. Keep them away from the dry ice. Kids will want to reach into the dry ice. Make sure that does not happen. Keep them away from that. But this will make bubbles for a pretty decent while. And again, it's not really a matter of putting more dry ice. It's a matter of heating up your water again. As we can see in here, there's plenty of dry ice. Our water's still pretty warm, so we may be able to put a little more in there. I didn't put much to begin with.
Ooh, now it's going.
There you go. So we've got that vapor. This vapor is not dangerous. If you were to accidentally breathe it, it's not gonna.
It makes you cough a little bit though.
It's that carbon dioxide. Okay, so it doesn't have any nasty chemicals in it, anything like that. Now, that being said, anything that is not oxygen or not our atmosphere, you can drown in. We've talked about that before with the carbon dioxide. So you don't want too much of it, but there we go.
There we go.
But a little bit is it's not gonna hurt you if it's blown at you or anything like that. Okay, so this is a pretty safe one as long as you follow a couple precautions, and that is to make sure that you do not have your dry ice, especially with the water, in a sealed container, okay, ever. You want to make sure you're wearing gloves. If you are touching it, make sure that your gloves are nice and dry, okay? And that really you should be okay. Like say if you want to put it in drinks and things like that, you can do that without really, causing any damage as long as it doesn't go into the drink you're drinking. put it into the pitcher, okay? And it will actually kind of lightly carbonate your beverage, and so that'll be pretty pleasant too. So I'm going to put a couple more of these in here, so we've got a little bit of that vapor going on while we do our next little demonstration, okay? So that is with dry ice. Yay! Okay.
Yay!
Yay! All right, so that is our dry ice part. Now we're going to switch over to our next little part here, and that is going to be, I'm going to move this over here because that really is fun on that table.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so we'll scooch this over a little more if that's okay. There you go, just make sure we don't spill that one. All right, now, we're going to switch now to our goldenrod paper, okay? So I want to make sure this is pretty dry where we're putting that. This goldenrod paper is a special type of paper, okay? This is not just orange construction paper, okay? Is that pretty dry where I'll be setting that there? Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so...
A little cold.
A little cold, yeah. This is a special paper, okay? And we'll show you why and what is special about it is because on the way over here, we were walking up Central and we were bit by somebody.
Yeah.
So we want to see if which one of us turns into a zombie.
Yep.
No. We weren't bit by anyone. Yeah, but a fun thing to do with this paper here is to get your zombie juice, okay? And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. But get your zombie juice. We each have our zombie juice. And what we're going to do is for this one here, you are going to be spraying it onto your hand, okay? So I'm going to move these out of the way. We're going to spray it onto our hand. Okay?
It is safe to spray on your hand.
I'll do it first, and then you can do it second, okay? So I'll spray it on my hand, and then we're going to test to see if I am, in fact, a zombie, okay? So let's see, make sure my sprayer works. There we go. So I've got it all over my hand, okay? So there's plenty on my hand here. And then I'm going to put it on this paper. We're going to see if I'm a zombie. So I am...
Nope.
Not a zombie. Oh. Whew, okay.
Okay.
That was a close one. We're sure that I'm pretty okay. Now, we know I'm not a zombie because our paper didn't change, okay? So I should be okay. So Haley is going to do the same test. Go ahead and spray that on your hand there.
Let's make it 2 for 2. Come on.
Yep, 2 for 2. Hopefully the bite was not contagious. Oh! Yeah, so go ahead and give me another little zombie print on there. Yeah, so we have these. Now let me show them your hand, yeah, to make sure that she is in fact okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's fun here is that she's a zombie.
Rawr.
Yeah. But at least she's not a very scary zombie. But no, so what we have here is this paper is used for testing, okay? Now, there's not a difference between the papers. She's not actually a zombie, okay? But what we have is we have 2 different fluids in here, okay? 2 different liquids. Now, they both say the same thing, zombie juice, okay? But what I actually have in here, and we're going to watch this paper because this paper is actually coming back to that yellow color. Mine did not change color, okay? Because what I have in this one here is water, and then just a little bitty bit. Remember, I try not to use food coloring. I used a little bit of like ocean water flavoring from the dollar store, and that is just to give us a color that pretty much matches, okay? Now, Haley here, because she's a zombie, if you slap that same paper that I used before, what is actually in this one is...
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Is Windex, okay? It is ammonia, okay? Now, ammonia is okay to touch your hands, to touch your skin. If you have little bitty scrapes, it may feel a little bit like when you put hand sanitizer on there. But this handprint here, this bloody mess that she did there, is actually the paper reacting to the change in the pH. So because that ammonia is actually a base, then we get this nice red color. This paper is fun because when it dries out, you can do it over and over again. Another fun thing you can do with it is if you were to get some of this paper, I'm going to get some dry one just to use it. There you go. You can do our spray. And I've got a crayon here that is about the same color. Okay, this is unmellow yellow. No, it's really called that. Yeah. But if you get one, and then I'm just gonna write zombie on here, okay? So this paper says zombie. You can't really see it because it's a secret message, of course, unless you were to spray it with the ammonia. Yeah, there you go. Then you get that nice, ooh, and it's even like dripping and stuff like that.
Nice.
So that's a fun one. As soon as it starts to dry, you can see from these ones that Haley made that terrible yeeky mess on before, that it'll return to that first color. As long as you don't scrape up and ruin the paper, you can do this one over and over again. So this stuff here is called Goldenrod paper. If you were to look it up online to purchase, it is very, very cheap. It's safe to use. There aren't any dangers there. Let me see. Hold that zombie for me there. Yeah, nice. And what we have in here is Windex. Okay, this is ammonia. One of the safety things for that, of course, you don't want to spray it in your face or in your eyes. So if you are doing it with kiddos, make sure they put their hands out a little bit further because you don't want to get it in their face. Make sure they don't put their hands directly in their mouth, right?
Yep.
They probably wouldn't get sick, but it's not yummy either. You don't want to ingest ammonia. You don't want to breathe a whole lot of ammonia, but it's just like if you were washing windows, there's nothing different there, okay? So this is a chemical. If you are not a parent, if you are a kiddo doing this one, don't get into the cleaning supplies unless mom and dad are there, okay? If you're like Haley here, you just don't get into cleaning supplies anyway.
I do.
No, I'm just kidding. She keeps things nice and clean. That was on video, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So now it's recorded that she keeps things nice and clean. No,
I'm gonna clip that later.
yeah, she's gonna use that clip against me. But yeah, so our things here for a nice, fun, holiday spooky thing. We've got some dry ice. We've got this goldenrod paper if you want to look that stuff up. Some ammonia and some water. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I think we're good. Did you have anything else that you need to do there?
One more spray because it's fun.
One more spray because it's fun? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so thank you, Haley, for coming and hanging out with me for this episode.
Of course.
And we are RayKitty Creation Workshop. You are watching the RayKitty Science Project. Okay, and as we always kind of end everything, is that don't forget that science shows
You matter.
You matter.